There we go. Um. All right. Welcome everybody to another exciting. I got Frank Gorshin in here with me right now. Welcome. Everybody right now is googling Frank Gorshin to see what the hell I'm talking about.
And Alice Cooper's name across the banner. Yeah.
There we go. Um,
And just for the record, I am once again in the beautiful Two Dudes Brew and Q studio.
I see you got a Bengals logo back there.
Yeah, right there. That's due to our owner, Kevo. He is the biggest Cincinnati Bengals fan ever. And I just want equal time. On the other side of the banner, you'll see the Saints.
There you go.
Or the other side of the poster. So I'm just sitting on the wrong end of the table. So
I got you. I
didn't want anybody to think that I had traded.
Well, they got enough LSU fans right now watching the Bengals, so because they want to watch Joe Burrow. I had to turn that game off Sunday because that was the game we had. We had the Bengals and the Colts in the on CBS, and Fox had the Steelers and the Browns. So I don't know why, but we did.
That's weird.
I don't know why we didn't have the Carolina game, but we didn't.
Fox usually carries the NFC, and CBS usually carries the AFC. I don't know why it was like that.
It's because of Thursday Night Football. Because Fox is a Thursday Night Football package right now. That kind of has gone out the window, and there are certain games that are like kicked over to because it used to be the rule was if you were at the NFC station or network like CBS was for decades, and then it became Fox. You hosted NFC games, and when there were interconference games, whatever team was the home team, if it was an NFC home team, the AFC network would cover it. So like when the Saints were on CBS, NBC got anytime the Saints were at home playing an AFC team like the Browns or the Chiefs or anything like that. But if you were an NFC team visiting an AFC stadium, they got CBS or Fox got to broadcast the game. And the thinking behind that was network crews and cameramen and everything got to visit all 32 stadiums.
Yeah.
So, because they don't normally get to visit the AFC, like Fox and CBS didn't normally get to visit AFC stadiums. So that's how that used to work. Once they created NFL Thursday Night Football, and it came off of NFL Network all year long and went to CBS for a while, then later went to Fox. They started rotating games and splitting games off, and COVID screwed it all up too, with having to reschedule games. So now you're going to have occasional games where you're like, what the hell? Why is Fox got two AFC teams, or if CBS now has two NFC teams? They just do that. It's just that, and also flex scheduling at the end of the year.
Yeah, and before Fox got into the fray, when it was just CBS and NBC, they didn't cross those lines nearly as often as what they do now.
No.
And there for a while, NBC wasn't in it at all until they got Sunday Night Football.
Exactly. Yeah. Growing up, for me, NFC was on CBS, AFC was on NBC, and you had Monday Night Football on ABC. That was it.
Yeah.
And then they started selling packages. Disney buys ABC as they start putting the stones in the Infinity Gauntlet. They start buying, ESPN and everything else. So, now the mouse has the gauntlet. But yeah, that's basically, that's going to screw up everything. Well, it has. I mean, think about it. That's why
Mickey Thanos.
I tell you, it's horrible. It's horrible. if you watched ESPN, and I haven't even introduced the show yet, but if you watched ESPN in the 1990s, right, as because TNT used to have the Sunday night package.
Yeah.
A long time ago, TNT had the Sunday night package because I still have a game from 1991, Saints Vikings, that was on ESPN, not ESPN, on TNT, Sunday Night Football. Yeah, and it's got Skip Carey and what the hell is his name? Pat Hayden. Skip Carey and Pat Hayden on the call. And Gary Bender in 1993 season opener, and I was at that game, but I still taped it. Houston Oilers against the New Orleans Saints. It was on TNT, and Gary Bender, who was an old CBS announcer, is calling the game with Pat Hayden. But yeah, oh yeah, that's the famous game of Buddy Ryan's first year as defensive coordinator.
Okay.
The Houston Oilers. Yeah, because that's the first.
Kevin Gilbride?
Yeah, Kevin Gilbride. That happens later that year, the 93 Oilers.
Oh, I thought you meant that was that game.
No. That happens much later. That was in the Astrodome, that particular game, where Kevin Gilbride just gets cold cocked by Buddy Ryan when he used to call it the old chuck and duck offense. But
trying to imagine Buddy Ryan throwing a punch at 75 years old was, but he had a good lead there.
Yeah, but that was Buddy Ryan was hired because of the Bills Oilers playoff game in Rich Stadium back in 1982, where they blew the biggest lead in postseason history, even bigger than the Saints. I mean, even bigger than the Falcons' 28-3 lead. It was I think it was a 31-point lead.
It was 31 to 3, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was 35-3 or something like that, or 34-3. Yeah. And Frank Reich's big comeback. But
what was ironic about that was that Frank Reich played at the University of Maryland, and he was also the quarterback for the biggest lead overcome in college and the NFL. So that's kind of trivial. Trivia knowledge.
My wife and my girlfriend at the time went with me to, because that was the morning game or the afternoon game, and the evening game was Saints versus Eagles playoff in 92. And my wife, then girlfriend, went with me to that game. And she says, I got a bad feeling about this game because, what happened with the Oilers. I said, we're not the Oilers. We're not going to blow this game. But yeah.
How'd that work out for you?
She still married me, even though that was probably the closest I ever came to killing another human being, because I was that pissed. I really was. All I needed was an Eagles fan to talk shit to me, and somebody was dead.
Yeah.
I was that pissed, because all that happened. I've said this before in the show, but all that happened right in front of my end zone. I mean, we were sitting there, and I'm watching this meltdown all happen right there on not the Girard side, but the I can't think of the name of the street now, but the other end zone. It's the same end zone that Garrett Hartley kicked the field goal, kicked the extra point. I'm sorry, the field goal through to send the Saints to the Super Bowl. But it was that end zone, and that was just, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I really couldn't believe it. Well, guys, you caught us in the middle of this conversation as we went live. Welcome to the Under the Dome podcast. This is, of course, the bye week. We should be getting back to practice tomorrow, and we'll get to see the first injury report to see if Janoris Jenkins and some of the guys who have been injured, Michael Thomas is supposed to be back. Who's going to be back for the Carolina Panthers game. If there's still going to be a Carolina Panthers game, because I don't know if you saw this, but somebody tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
And if we follow the trend that we've seen from the Buffalo Bills, we may not have this game on Sunday. It may be moved to Monday. We might get 2 bye weeks, and this game get moved all the way to the end of the season. Don't know yet. That's something still to be determined.
Yeah, right now it's really unprecedented because although we have a normalized schedule as we do every year, it's basically, for all practical intents and purposes, it's conditional on a weekly basis now.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way that they have to be able to deal with this. I don't look for us to get flexed like that because we're the NFC South. We're not the Patriots. We're not the Chiefs. We're not the Bills. So I don't look for them to really worry too much about whether some rednecks get to play football or not. But they're going to get theirs.
Well, the good news is, and Jerry brought it up, the good news is after the posturing and the flirting with LSU's Tiger Stadium, the Saints are going to be allowed to have fans starting this Sunday. And it looks like they're going to allow 3,000 fans for this game and probably the 49ers game, with hopefully, if there's no positive test or the curve stays flat, 6,000 for the Falcons game, and then the last two home games of the Chiefs and the Vikings in December, maybe 15,000 fans be allowed at those games. But we're just going to take it one step at a time. The key is they're going to get 3,000 here. LSU was really not going to be too much of a practical option for two reasons. Number one, LSU plays a lot of games Saturday night because the whole Saturday night in Tiger Stadium mythos. Okay. And it happened to be that for most of the Saints home games in October and November, LSU is also playing at home. I think for the Falcons game, I think LSU plays Alabama in Tiger Stadium the night before. So this is the second thing. It's a natural grass field. They won't have time to prepare the field for an NFL game. Even if they painted the two hash marks, the field would be pretty torn up. If it had a field turf or some kind of synthetic field like Yeoman Stadium or Cajun Field or some of the other college stadiums, you could do it. But setting it up or turning it over in time for an NFL noon kickoff after a night game Saturday night was just not possible. So I think that kind of played into it. But
playing in Tiger Stadium, that brings back too many bad memories of that season.
Oh yeah, that's 2005. That's 2005. I don't want to think about that either. And the other thing is, that's Calvin's. I'm sorry, but these numbers are trash. Might as well not have any fans. 3,000 ain't enough to bust a grape. I don't like the 3,000 either. That's why the other reason why they were targeting Tiger Stadium, because it seats 100,000, or 25% of 100,000 is a pretty sizable crowd. That's 25,000 people.
Plus, that, if I'm not mistaken, that curve, that as far as the capacity, it changes on an outdoor venue, does it not?
It's supposed to. And that was Cantrell's thing. She was saying that, well, the stadiums that have closed roofs, they also have the option to open them, like Atlanta, Dallas. Indianapolis, those cities. And the Saints have a fixed roof. Well, here's the bullshit part of this. Two things. Number one, a lot of those stadiums played with closed roofs anyway and didn't have any problems. And the second thing is, if it only applies to open air stadiums, then how come Tulane doesn't have any fans and Tulane's playing open air stadium, Yeoman Stadium? And the reason why New Orleans, the Saints don't play at Yeoman is Yeoman only seats 30,000 fans. So 25%.
That'd be like playing in San Diego or Los Angeles.
It is. It's like playing in the old soccer stadium, just because Tulane's a small program. So 25% of 30,000 people is less than the 3,000 that Calvin was talking about. Anna had a biopsy today.
I thought it was tomorrow. I thought I read on Facebook that it was tomorrow.
Well, Anna, we're praying for you. I hope everything's not okay. Yeah, you're right. It's better than nothing. I agree, but I would have liked to have seen close to 10,000 fans in the stadium. Uh, I want to see more than 15,000 for Kansas City, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
San Francisco, I'd like to see a hell of a lot more than 3,000 fans because, uh, the 49ers, I watched a little of that game too. The 49ers, they can be beaten. They're not as good as they were last year, but,
They're
playing,
they're
playing,
playing.
playing in a near empty stadium at home helps them tremendously, like it helps the Packers.
Yeah, uh, I've watched them parts of a few of their games this year, and they're just like the Minnesota Vikings. They're playing so helter skelter right now that it's not even funny. Minnesota played Seattle, and for all practical intents and purposes, should have won that game.
No, they
Uh,
screwed up.
yeah,
They made a bad decision. So they're kicking the field goal and going up by 8. They went
yeah.
for it. Went for the win as they thought, and it cost
Never,
them the game.
never occurred to them that that was Russell Wilson standing on the other sideline. And when they turned around and made that motion that they had failed on the fourth down try, it was pretty much academic.
Well, here's the thing, and we saw this last week for the second game. The Bay of Pigs, as Pete Axelm used to call it, the Tampa Bay Green Bay game, because at the time both teams were terrible. At Green Bay, all their flaws that we all saw during their winning streak, their undefeated streak, inability to stop the run, struggles to protect Aaron Rodgers, those sort of things all manifested in that one game. Once
Yes.
Rodgers threw that pick six, it was a totally different game. We've seen Cincinnati, not Cincinnati, that Bengals thing's throwing me off. We saw Seattle win 2 games they really should have lost. The last 2 games, they really should have lost those games. So I think Seattle is playing on a very thin margin of error. So I'm not, although they look like they're the best team in the NFC right now, they're not unbeatable. And
No.
I think that they're going to lose a game they should have won very soon.
And as you alluded to, it's already come close to happening 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, absolutely.
They made Minnesota look like Super Bowl champs that night that the two of them played, because I watched that game right here, and Minnesota is not as good as they looked against Seattle. They're not.
Oh, they were terrible this past weekend. That was a terrible performance. Kirk Cousins looked like he was the Kirk Cousins of Washington. They were terrible. The only team there's 2 teams that concern me going into the rest of the season. One is the 49ers, because I hate George Kittle. I hate that man. I really hate him. But there's the 49ers concern me, and the Chiefs concern me, even though the Chiefs lost, because the Chiefs' strengths are weaknesses. Covering the tight end, covering the deep pass, dealing with speed in the secondary. That's our weaknesses. So that's what has me concerned about the Chiefs game. And that's kind of takes me to what I wanted to talk about tonight on the show is I kind of wanted to, since it's the bye and it's earlier than we're used to, it's a 6-week grading period as opposed to the midpoint of the season. But the trade deadline comes up on November 3rd. I want to kind of tonight talk about what kind of grades would you give each position group, letter grades but for each position group thus far into the season. And we'll start with the quarterbacks. What grade would you give the quarterback position right now?
Based And let me
based on what we've seen,
yeah.
Breeze and
I want to preface my comments for all these positions. This is based entirely on from opening day to the bye week this season. This has nothing to do with legacy. This has nothing to do with right now. The quarterbacks I would give a C because Drew has not been Drew in my opinion. He really hasn't. And aside from Drew Brees, the only other quarterback that's taken snaps is Taysom Hill, and I don't think it would be a stretch at all to say that Taysom Hill's performance has been a cataclysmic failure at the most crucial of times this season. I don't think, and I don't want to get all off into what we were talking about last week about the Taysom Hill experiment. I think it's run its course, and I think we should get back to what we're supposed to be doing. But I give the quarterback position a C.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm giving it a C based on I thought Drew Brees, he has played better each week. I didn't think he was that sharp against the Raiders for sure, or the Bucks the first time around. I thought he played better against Green Bay and Detroit, and San Diego took a little while for him to get going. Once he had that 2-minute drill right before halftime, he got into his groove. And I think the Taysom Hill, Ralph Marlboro said it best. Taysom Hill plays only are good when they work, and right now they're not working. So, I probably that's why I'm giving it a C, because you had the one touchdown from Taysom Hill, but Taysom Hill also cost us the Packers game because of the fumble. And I just don't think those plays are working the way they're supposed to, because I think Taysom Hill needs to throw out of that formation occasionally, and he needs to pull that trigger quicker because he hesitates too long to make his throw, and the windows aren't open long enough. So that's why I give that a C. Okay, so running backs. I'll take the running backs first, and I'll ask you your grade. I'm going to give them an A. I'm going to give them an A because I think Alvin Kamara is playing out of his mind right now. Just like when we paid Michael Thomas, I think Alvin Kamara is proving he's worth the money we paid him. He looks every bit the Rookie of the Year player he was in 2017, if not better. That catch he made against the Packers, which was very Reggie Bush-like against Dallas in 2006, where he just took that ball and maneuvered down the field, and that unbelievable catch he made against Detroit and against the Chargers. Detroit on fourth down, Chargers where he just caught it along the sideline like that. I mean, that's what else can you say? And I think Murray's playing better. I think Murray is showing he's a good 1-2 punch this year. We did not see that. Yeah,
and I really cannot find fault with anything that you said, and I completely agree that it would be an A. Alvin Kamara is playing lights out, and all things considered, in the 5 games that have been played, the most consistent performer on the team, offensively or defensively, has been Alvin Kamara by far.
Absolutely. I shudder to think what our record would be if Alvin Kamara was playing injured like he did last year, because I don't think we win 3 games with Alvin Kamara being hobbled. I really don't.
No.
And we're going to get into the reason why. Okay, so I'm going to stick wide receivers and tight ends. Sean, give me your grade for the wide receiver and tight end position. What would you give them a grade?
Probably a C.
Yeah, given that Michael Thomas has been hurt since the first week of the season.
I would go with a C because, like you said, there's been no Michael Thomas, and the person that steps up this week disappears the next. Now, I do like the results that we're starting to get out of
Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders. I like the way that he is starting to be more integrated into this offense.
Yeah.
And I think it bodes well for when Michael Thomas does come back, because we know that Drew is going to go to Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas is going to catch it.
Absolutely.
They have that chemistry together, and Breeze developing that same sort of chemistry with him is going to make things even that much better. Sanders, that is, when Thomas comes back, it's going to give us more options, and we don't have to worry about whether Traquan Smith is going to show up or whether this one's going to. It's going to give us better options.
Until the Detroit game, I would have given the wide receiver core an F. The Detroit game pulled it up to I'm a C- right now, because Traquan Smith stepped up in against Detroit, and then Emmanuel Sanders stepped up against the Chargers. And those two games have pulled it up. Now they can't disappear when Michael Thomas comes back, because we cannot run the entire passing game through Michael Thomas again. I mean, Jared Cook is Jeremy Shockey and Kobe Fleener. He's playing that kind of guy right now, because he's there and he gets hurt, and then he's there, and then doesn't do much. He made 2 catches against the Chargers, but it took him a little while to appear. He's no Jimmy Graham. He's no no consistent receiving threat. Not even playing to the level he was playing at the end of last year, and that hurts, because we need somebody. Here's the thing: we need somebody to attack the seams and also attack the outs and the slants and all those things. But you need somebody to threaten the middle of the defense, and it's not just a speed guy. It's also, because that's what I keep telling people. You think about 2011 and 2009, where the Saints were more of a vertical attack, Air Coryell kind of offense. What they've become now is a horizontal attack. They're much more of a traditional West Coast offense now, where everything is keyed on yards after the catch. The ball doesn't travel very far. It requires the receivers to make the yards after the catch. We're seeing that with Alvin Kamara. We're not seeing that out of the other players, except for maybe Emmanuel Sanders against the Chargers. But, we need to see more of that, where these guys start pushing them, running the ball down the field.
I haven't seen Jared Cook as Jared Cook since probably that 49er game last year that he got injured, got the concussion.
Right.
I haven't been impressed with anything that he's done since then.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest weakness we have right now. Yeah, Thomas, I think he only had 2 catches in the Tampa Bay game. I think you're right. He hasn't played since then. But yeah, we need to see more out of the receiving core. I do like the things I saw out of Callaway, the receiver from Tennessee, the undrafted free agent. I like what I saw out of the San Diego game. I'd like to see that continue this week. I don't need to have, this guy having 5 receptions and this guy having 6 receptions and this guy having 4. I like the idea of Breeze hitting 9 different receivers on one drive. That's the kind of stuff I want to see again. That's what we need to have. And guys who get yards after the catch. I don't care if the ball only travels 4 yards, but we catch the ball and we're going somewhere with it. We're making a move and we're getting yards. So they have to start pulling the guys down in the zone. And now that opens things up for behind those players. And Breeze can throw the ball deep. He can do it. He's just not going to do it very often. And he's not going to do it when the zones are sitting so far back and everybody's keeping things in front of him. And the way you defeat that is you let guys have to make moves after they, as soon as they catch the ball and start heading upfield. Make that first guy miss, and there you go. And that'll change the way they cover the Saints receivers. Okay. So the next position then is, you're right. My brother's going to, Oakland is coaching the tight ends better. Well, they got some more talent than we have right now. I mean, that tight end's a really good player, and we don't have a Lance Moore.
That's because they gave us their talent. And they got good ones.
Yep.
But they're at the same time. You have to remember one of the concerns going into the sports.
That's Dante Fowler. Benny Fowler. Sorry, Benny Fowler. That's the guy who couldn't catch it. Kept throwing the ball to number 16. Benny Fowler kept dropping it. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
One of the concerns during the courtship of Jared Cook before we signed him was the fact that he's not a rookie coming out of college. His age is starting to catch up with him.
He's 33. Yeah.
And I think you're going to start to see now. How many? You've got the computer. How many years have we got left on that Jared Cook deal?
I think he has one more year left on the contract.
You're going to start to see a transition to the kid that we just drafted. Troutman, was that his name?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to start to see him more integrated, I believe. You're still going to use Cook, but you got to plan for the future while working for the present.
Yeah, next year is his last year.
And I don't think that unless there's a significant setback in Troutman, I don't believe that you're going to see him re-signed.
Yeah, next year's Cook's last year. Okay, so all right. So the offensive line. What kind of grade would you give the offensive line?
I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but now I would say middle of the road. C.
You're 3 and 2, so I expect a lot of these kind of grades.
Well, one game they play like gangbusters, and then you come up on a game where they'll play a quarter and then look like crap for a quarter, and then come back and play strong, or a crap for another quarter, and then come back and play strong at the end. But I would say the offensive line would have to be a C.
I'm very disappointed in the offensive line outside of Eric McCoy, honestly.
Yes.
I think both tackles aren't playing to their ability. It's not that they're playing badly, but they're not dominating players like they should.
Like they did a year ago.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to 2018 and you look at those first few games, all the way to the Bengals game before Armstead got hurt. Armstead is erasing people. And the same thing in 2019. When you look at those first few games with Ramczyk, erased J.J. Watt. Those tackles aren't playing to that level. Pete's been injured again. Easton is playing like some days sometimes he looks like Tim Lolito, sometimes he looks like Clemente, and that's two extremes. He looks good, he looks bad, and it could be in the same drive. Ruiz finally is getting in, and I've been waiting to see Ruiz in because I think the offensive line plays better with Ruiz in right now.
The results are fantastic with Ruiz in the line.
The anti-Pete crowd will tell you that they look better with Pete's out too, but I think Ruiz on the right side gives us more of a strength on that side. I think Pete, he's a run blocker. I mean, unfortunately, he is what he is. He's a run blocker.
And see, that's the same thing with a few years ago when the most dominant offensive line unit in the league was the Dallas Cowboys. and
Yeah.
and they were not really successful throwing the ball. Well, people don't seem to understand that you if you have a dominant run blocking unit, which the Cowboys were, that doesn't necessarily translate to being a good pass blocking unit at the same time.
Yeah, and that's where I'm disappointed in this offensive line, because I think Ramczyk and Armstead should be playing better as pass blockers.
I agree with that.
And I think Ruiz is probably a good pass blocker. So McCoy should be able to help out with Pete when necessary. I think that's where I'm disappointed. So overall, it's a C. And I agree with you. Until they start playing to their level, and I think that's what's affecting this offense.
I think that they all need to be reminded on a regular basis that you got a 40-year-old quarterback back there. Your play is going to be scrutinized even more with every passing week.
Well, and that was the thing. You're watching between the receivers not getting the separation they need and the offensive line not blocking so Breeze can step up and launch these balls. That's all affecting this offense the way when we want to take the deep shots, when we want to make the big plays, that is affecting this offense. So, it all fits together. I think they're doing a pretty good job run blocking, though. I mean, once they hit the hole, create a great hole, boom, they're gone. All right. So next is defensive line. What would you grab? Pass rushers and defensive tackles. What would you give them on the defensive line? What kind of grade?
Either it would be right there with a A- or B+.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I think that they're starting to hit their stride now. They're playing much better in the last 2 games than they did the first 3.
Yeah.
You're seeing more production out of that rotation between Rankins and Hendrickson and Davenport. If there's any cause that I can point out for it being an A- rather than an A, it would be the fact that we haven't really seen Cam Jordan be Cam Jordan.
And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that you had Trey Hendrickson on the other side, as opposed to having Marcus Davenport. I know a lot of people are down on Davenport because he's injured a lot. But as we saw in the Los Angeles game, even on a pitch count, Davenport was making a much bigger impact as a run stopper and a pass rusher. Whereas Hendrickson he's a try-hard guy as a run stopper. He just doesn't have the ass for it. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. He doesn't have enough stuff he needs junk in his trunk. He needs some weight back there to get a good base to handle, bull rushing a tackle, to stuff to blow up a running play. He's a pass rusher, and he gets to the quarterback because of speed and using his hands. And he's shown to be a great situational pass rusher. In fact, he leads the team in sacks. So he gets a good grade for that. But as a result, Cam Jordan is still seeing more double and triple teams because we're not getting the push up the middle that we have normally gotten out of Rankins and Malcolm Brown. Onyemata being in the mix, Onyemata pushes Rankins to do more. And again, like I said, with Davenport in there, Davenport can overpower because he does have the size. He has the length to bull rush somebody. So they have to pay more attention to Davenport, and that frees up Cam Jordan. So, it all fits together. So right now, I'm going to give the defensive line a B- because until the Detroit game, I didn't think the defensive line was playing very well outside of Hendrickson.
Yeah.
But I think they played better the past 2 games. They need to improve even more. This week, I want to see Teddy on his butt a lot. And if he's not on his butt, I want to see him having to play Mr. Check Down the whole time. And the Saints, that's the next position. We're going to talk about the linebackers. Saints linebackers, bringing those guys down so they get 0 yards after the catch. And you make the Panthers settle for field goals instead of touchdowns.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so linebackers, and I'm kind of talking about that. What grade would you give the linebackers?
See, because it's basically Demario Davis and everybody else. I need to see someone in that linebacker unit besides number 56 step up and be a factor in these games, because he's not going to be able to do everything on his own.
They reactivated Kiko Alonso off the PUP list, so that's a good thing. So he can start being put into the mix. We've seen Zach Bond in the past 2 games, and against the Chargers, he made a nice tackle for a loss. But Anzalone isn't being a liability, nor is he a playmaker right now. He's there. He's not making mistakes, but he's not
making plays either.
He's not making impact plays. So, I kind of agree with that. It's a C, B- for me as well. Demario Davis, I give him an A, but it's the other guys that they need to step up. I think Kiko Alonso coming back, and I think Bond getting more and more reps. The linebackers have a good shot of getting better. I expected this. I expect the linebackers to struggle in the beginning and get better as the season goes on.
I agree completely with that.
So let's go ahead and see what we're going to give the second.
Calvin hard on him, man.
I know Calvin's grading hard. I think Alonso does take some Anzalone snaps, especially in pass defense. I think Anzalone is going to be a first and second down kind of guy, and on third down you're going to see Alonso in there, to drop off in coverage. Okay, so secondary, we'll take them all: cornerbacks and defense and the safeties. What's your grade on that? Me too. Yeah, it's got to be an F.
For one thing, you're playing without your starters, and you're not getting any results even when your starters are in there. Marshawn Lattimore, in the course of 2 to 3 seasons, has gone from being the defensive rookie of the year to being a light switch that's either on or it's off. And that, my friends, makes him a liability. If he can't play 100% all the time, we need to move on from that.
Well, and I totally agree with that. I mean, it's, Jenkins hasn't played since the Raiders game, because he didn't play for against the Packers.
You're talking Janoris
Jenkins, yeah. I'm extremely, and we've talked about this several times, extremely disappointed in Malcolm Jenkins. I shouldn't be, because this is what I expected out of Malcolm Jenkins, why I didn't want to sign this guy to begin with, because I knew when he got here, we weren't getting the Philadelphia Malcolm Jenkins. We're getting the old Saints Malcolm Jenkins again. I knew that was going to happen, but, it's Sean Payton has buyer's remorse a lot of times. And he has a hoarder mentality sometimes, where if I let somebody go and they turn out to be good, that's a mistake. I need to come back and get that guy. He did it with Jenkins. He's done it a couple of times with some other players. He still talks about not having the guy we drafted in 2006, who ended up being a good player for New England because they moved him to linebacker from Purdue.
I know who you're talking about. Van Noy.
Yeah. No, not Van Noy. No, it was Oh, it'll come to me. He was a defensive lineman. The Saints tried to turn him into a deep snapper when he came back the second time. He went to Miami, came back to the Saints. Then they couldn't use him as a deep snapper, and he goes over to New England, and Belichick figures out how to use him as a pass rusher. And he kept saying, "Oh, that was one of my biggest mistakes, not keeping that guy." But the Jenkins is playing exactly how I expected him to play with us. He makes a lot of mistakes, trying to be aggressive. I thought, especially in that Chargers game, I saw at least 2 plays that he screwed it up because he was trying to get to the quarterback too soon instead of staying where he was supposed to stay or letting one of his teammates make a play. And one of them was for a touchdown. So Ninkovich, that's who it is.
Ninkovich. Rob Ninkovich.
That was the guy, Rob Ninkovich from 2006. Drafted him out of Purdue. He was a defensive end, and the Saints just couldn't figure out what to do with him because he was too small. But yeah, I think Janoris Jenkins has played better than Lattimore, more consistent than Lattimore. He just haven't seen him in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Lattimore, same problems we've been seeing for the past 2 seasons are back again. I think Williams has regressed every year since Marcus Williams has regressed every year since his rookie year as far as taking good angles to the ball, making good tackles consistently. He's a frustrating player because you see glimmers, you see plays where he looks like the kind of safety this team has been looking for since the days of Sammy Knight. But then you get plays like the George Kittle play and the Minneapolis Miracle play. Yeah, where he just, what the hell are you doing? As much as I can't stand that Lattimore gave up that play against the Chargers, at the same time, Williams was late again. I thought Patrick Robertson played okay. I don't blame him for that touchdown. I really don't. The one he gave up to the Chargers, because he played it like he was playing cover 2 zone, expecting the safety to come up over the top and cut that off. Once again, no communication. And, surprise, that's Malcolm Jenkins' side of the field. No communication. The things that Jenkins was brought in to fix, and we give up a wide open touchdown, easy touchdown. So, I don't understand. The only guys I feel comfortable with back there are Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and this is going to sound.
Please don't say it, please.
Okay,
please.
I won't. I don't think that was PJ. That was Patrick Robinson. I don't think that was PJ on that play. But yeah, it's just it drives me crazy, this whole thing. So PJ Williams, H for hopeless. There you go.
Were you gonna say PJ?
I was gonna say PJ when he is playing safety.
Okay.
But not when he's playing cornerback. And I'll have to go back and look at that play. I don't think that's right, but I'll take your word for it. But anyway, yeah, I know Marcus Williams has the side where Lattimore is, because Marcus is the free and Jenkins has been playing the strong safety. But I could swear that was Jenkins out there, but Jenkins could have been playing down in the box. But Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's the only guy I really trust out there right now.
And he's still making the weird little, for lack of a better term to use, rookie mistakes.
He's too aggressive. He's aggressive. And I can deal with aggressive mistakes over mistakes that you just don't like. You even knew what the hell the defense was.
Yeah.
It could be PJ. I'll have to go back and look at it. I'll have to look at the numbers. But because I didn't see him come in. I'm just assuming it's Malcolm Jenkins, but it could be PJ. Everybody's saying it is, so it probably is. But yeah, it is the safety though that blew that play because that was a cover 2 defense, especially with Patrick Robertson. You don't want him locked up man on man against a fast receiver going down the field. You know, it's a cover 2 scheme, so the safety should be kicking out, protecting over the top. And when the safety's just sitting there, not doing anything, that tells me that's a mistake by the safety as the receiver goes and takes off down the field. And the cornerback stops and sits with nobody in front of him. That's cover 2. Robertson played it right. Whoever was supposed to come over the top played it badly. And if it was PJ, I'm sure that's why they threw the pass to that and ran a go route on that side because they wanted to match up with PJ. And if PJ takes the right angle and cuts him off, boom, it's not, he can't go. He's going to drive him out of bounds, which is what you're supposed to do in that situation. But whatever. All right, so secondary F.
And I hate to be that critical, but I'm like I say, I'm grading on what I've seen.
That if you want to know why we're 3-2, there it is.
We cannot cover a tight end.
Can't cover a tight end. We give up too many big plays. Most of the penalties we give up are pass interference penalties.
Yes.
I'm not even Angelone's pass interference calls in Detroit I thought were total crap. But the secondary I'm blaming. But anyway, so the last thing, let's look at special teams. Lutz, Morstead, and the kick return game. We'll throw Callaway in here. Callaway and Harris.
Yeah.
What kind of grade would you give that?
Well, you start with Lutz, which is almost a perfect A+. There's no more clutch player on this roster or in the league at the kicker position than what Lutz has been.
What's with the Bengals sign behind you? Jerry must not have heard you.
Okay, this is where I work. I do the show from this restaurant on Tuesday nights. The owner of the restaurant is a diehard Cincinnati Bengals fan. And this goes back pre-Burrow. This goes back all his life. He has been a huge Bengals fan. And that is why there's a Cincinnati Bengals sign there.
Yeah. Saints are on the other side.
Yeah. Look, there's the Saints on the other side, closer to the window. But Morstead, I still consider Morstead to be one of the better punters in this league. I do believe that he's a little off his game this year. I mean, he had that one game where he didn't look good at all. The returners, I would say average. You haven't seen any big returns, but you haven't seen putting the ball on the ground or making dumb mistakes like catching a punt inside the 10-yard line, stuff like that. So I would say C+ to B-.
Okay, so I'm gonna give them a higher grade than you. I'm gonna give them a B+, A-. I think Morstead has had some trouble doing his coffin kicks he used to do, and I think he's surprisingly been the weakest one of that group. I think Lutz is Morton Anderson in his prime right now. He's almost automatic.
Yes.
If he misses a kick now, we're surprised. We're really shocked. But when we get inside the 40, it's pretty much a given more that Lutz is going to put it in there. I agree with Calvin. I think the returners are giving us good field position. I think our coverage teams are giving us stupid penalties that take away good returns.
Sure.
So, that's a negative not from the returners, but I think from the coverage teams. Stop giving up stupid penalties. Let us get our, because the returners are getting good yardage compared to what we've been used to. Yeah. Sean, do you remember the Icky Shuffle?
Oh yeah, Icky Woods.
Yep. Yep. And then you throw the ball over your shoulder like that. Yeah, Geico had a little commercial about that. But anyway, yeah, I think that's been the only negative on the return game. I think the touchdowns are going to be coming. I think Harris is going to get us a touchdown before it's all said and done. I would not be surprised to see it this week if Harris plays. That's somebody we have to see if he comes back from his hamstring injury. But yeah, overall, I'm giving the Saints a C as a team, which fits their record 3-2. You give up too many penalties for too much yardage. Stupid penalties. Yeah, you give up. You can't consistently get off the field on third down. And on offense, you can't consistently get drives going. It seems to take a little while for this offense to get moving. We have not come out from the opening possession, boom, score a touchdown, and then put the opposing team on their heels, making them go 3 and out, and then we go down, score again, get another touchdown, and we play with a lead. We haven't done that all season.
And this would be the perfect week.
This is the
try
week
to exercise because Carolina is struggling offensively, defensively. They don't have McCaffrey. The only thing that they got is something that we gave them.
Their offense is built around running the football. Joe Brady is doing all the same things the Saints are doing. So there's no reason we shouldn't know what they're going to call, what they're going to do, because it's all the same things he learned in New Orleans. So yeah, it's things that we need to dominate this team and just beat the hell out of Teddy Bridgewater. I don't care if he was our former quarterback and he's a good guy and stuff like that. He's the enemy.
The opponent now.
Yeah. They've got to go out there and take it to Carolina early. Make Bridgewater beat you with his arm. If you can make that team settle for field goals instead of touchdowns, we should win this game easily by a large margin.
But if you get the same team going out there and handling their business the way that this team did in the first 3 weeks of the season, it's going to be an embarrassment.
Well, yeah, exactly. They're going to make plays on us, and it's going to be a back and forth kind of game, and we're going to make Carolina look better than they really are. And that's what I'm worried about. I really, especially because Lattimore only seems to care about playing against Julio Jones and Mike Evans, and that's about it. So, that has to happen. You have to dominate this team. You have to start creating separation because the Bucs are getting better. There's no doubt about it. They are getting better. I don't think they are as good as, Buck and Aikman seem to think they are, and the rest of those clowns on the national media. But they're not pushovers. They're not going to beat themselves like they did when they had Jameis Winston at quarterback. You're going to have to beat them. I mean, Jameis Winston was always good for at least one pick six and a couple of turnovers to kill drives so you can bury that team. And then at the end of the game, he starts getting a garbage time, starts racking up yardage. But, you don't have a Jameis Winston over there. Brady's not going to do that. But you can make Brady make mistakes because his offensive line isn't as good as it was in New England. And he's not as comfortable throwing the deep ball as you would think, as somebody like Winston was. So we have a few weeks before that, but we need to take care of these winnable games this week against the Panthers, next week against the Bears. And that's the difference. That's the only way this game is going to this season is going to really turn around. Because the Patriots, the Bucks are the media darling, and until we beat them again, they're going to be the media darling. And I have a feeling we have to beat them 3 times to advance in the playoffs. So
Probably.
yeah, I mean, and I don't know. It's like it's like a vampire in a horror movie. You can never drive the stake in them enough because they're always going to pop back up one last time to scare you. And that's we need to do that. We need to do that. But first thing we need to do is take care of the Panthers. All right. So, any final words? Oh, we got to pay the bills. We haven't paid the bills yet.
Thank you for joining us on Under the Dome. We love you guys. We do this for you, and we always enjoy hanging out with you for this period of time on Tuesday nights. You can follow our show on Facebook at the Under the Dome podcast page. You can follow us on iTunes and on YouTube. And you can follow each of us on Twitter by the handles provided. And once again, we thank you guys so much for being a part of what we do. We do what we do for you guys, and we love doing it.
Absolutely.
And thoughts and prayers are going out to Anna. We hope you everything went well. Let us know how the tests turned out. Ladies.
I hope it's benign. I really, my prayers. I hope it's benign.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and that's the key. This is the start of the real run. I said this 3 weeks ago. I'll say it again. Every year that the Saints have won a divisional, won 13 games, 2017 to 2019, we've had a run, whether it's 7 games, 9 games in a row, 10 games in a row. We've had the big run that allowed us to win the division. We need to have that happen now. We've got 2 under our belt. Let's get 2 more, this game with the Panthers, the next game against the Bears, and start getting this rolling. Win 6 or 7 games again like we did last year, and we have a good chance of winning the division again, because those victories over the Bucks especially will make sure we win the division for the 4th time. And that happens by getting better, beating these teams that are extremely beatable, like the Panthers and the Bears. So that's all I'm going to be looking at right now. I had a question, and I want you guys to think about it for next week. This was my question for next week. We'll have a better look at the team, but it'll be the week before the trade deadline. That Monday, I think it is, or Tuesday. I think it's election day, Tuesday. Do you want the Saints to make a trade? Because the past couple of years we've had made trades or made moves to get Eli Apple. We picked up Janoris Jenkins off of waivers from the Giants. Make a trade for somebody to shore up a weakness on our defense or a weakness on our offense. If so, who would you trade? CBS Sports came out with something today where they suggest the Saints trade Sheldon Rankins for a 5th-round pick, which I think is absurd, but trade Rankins to the Bills for a 5th-round pick. I wouldn't take anything less than a 3rd for him. And they suggest the Saints make a trade for Ryan Kerrigan, the Washington pass rusher. I like the idea of picking up Kerrigan. I'm not sure, I don't know what I would give up for him. I have a couple other positions I'd like to see him make trades and make some moves on too. So we're going to talk about that one next week. So that crawl will show up next week. In the meantime, go Saints. I don't know how the thing is going to work out, how the fans work out. But we'll see how the 3,000 fans, they make a difference. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Oh, the Browns tight end requested a trade. Of course they did. Everybody wants to get out of the Cleveland area. I'm just throwing a couple of these last things on. Yeah, there you go. Chad, we're not trading for your daughter though, Chad. Oh, what's your daughter run, Chad? If she runs a 40 and 4.4, we might move it receiver.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.